You ever found yourself in a never-ending cycle of trying to explain your side to a narcissist, especially when that narcissist is a woman? You talk, you reason, you lay everything out as clearly as possible, yet somehow she twists your words, flips the blame, and leaves you feeling drained and unheard. It's frustrating, right? The truth is, explanations don't work, and with a female narcissist, they often make things worse. Carl Jung's shadow work gives us a different lens to see this through, one that reveals why she behaves this way, and more importantly, what you can do instead to protect yourself and regain your power. In this video, we'll go deep into why explaining is wasted energy, and I'll share with you the one shift that changes everything. By the end, you'll see how to step out of her trap and into your own strength. Stick with me until the end, because the final insight might surprise you. And if you've ever dealt with this kind of toxic dynamic, drop your thoughts in the comments. Your story could help someone else. Don't forget to subscribe for more real talk and deep insights. When you're dealing with a female narcissist, one of the first mistakes most people make is believing that if they just explain clearly enough, things will finally make sense and she will change her behavior. It feels logical after all. In healthy relationships, communication brings clarity and resolution. But with a narcissist, especially a female narcissist, the exact opposite happens. Every attempt at explanation becomes raw material for her defense mechanisms. She doesn't hear your reasoning as an effort to build understanding. She hears it as a challenge, a threat, or even as fuel for her own sense of superiority. The more you explain, the more she twists your words. She might interrupt, mock your tone, bring up past mistakes, or accuse you of things that have nothing to do with the present issue. Instead of clearing the air, your words become weapons in her hands. Carl Jung's shadow work offers a powerful way to understand why this happens. The female narcissist often projects her own unacknowledged flaws, fears, and insecurities onto the people around her. When you try to explain yourself, she unconsciously sees it as proof that you are the one who is flawed, not her. Your explanations threaten the fragile image she works so hard to protect. She cannot allow herself to be wrong, because that would mean confronting the very parts of herself. Justification is exhausting because it keeps you in a cycle of reaction. Instead of standing in your truth, you're constantly trying to prove it to someone who has no intention of accepting it. A female narcissist thrives on this cycle because it gives her power. Every time you justify, she gets to decide whether your explanation is valid. And here's the painful truth in her eyes: it never island. She will always find a way to dismiss, distort, or devalue what you say. The more you defend yourself, the more she feels in control, and the less grounded you become. Carl Jung's shadow work gives us insight into why this pattern is so destructive. The narcissist projects her own hidden insecurities onto you, accusing you of the very flaws she cannot admit within herself. When you justify, you unconsciously accept her framing of the story. You play along with her projection. In a way, you agree to carry her shadow for her, while she avoids it. This is why the cycle feels so heavy and draining. You're not just defending yourself, you're also carrying the weight of her unacknowledged darkness. The trap of justification also erodes your sense of self. Over time, you may find yourself preparing arguments in your head before even speaking to her, rehearsing conversations, or walking on eggshells to avoid conflict. You start to believe that maybe if you explained better, more calmly, or more logically, she would finally hear you, but this is an illusion. The problem is not your explanation, the problem is her refusal to listen. The trap lies in believing that the burden of proof is always on you. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow is one of the most powerful tools we can use to understand the psychology of a female narcissist. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves that we deny, reject, or bury deep within the unconscious. These are traits we don't want to admit. We have envy, insecurity, rage, weakness, or fear. Instead of integrating them, we push them out of sight, pretending they don't exist. But the shadow never truly disappears. It shows up in projection, when we unconsciously place our unwanted traits onto someone else. This is exactly what happens with a narcissist. She cannot tolerate the idea that she might be wrong, fragile, or unworthy, so she accuses others of being the very things she secretly fears about herself. When you interact with a female narcissist, you become the canvas for her projections. If she feels insecure, she may call you weak or needy. If she feels envy, she might accuse you of being competitive. To be wrong, because that would mean confronting the very parts of herself she has buried deep in the shadow. So rather than listening, she doubles down. She deflects, distorts, and distracts. She is not engaging with your words. She is protecting her image. This is why explaining never works. It's not about clarity, it's about control. A female narcissist thrives on pulling you into her emotional battlefield, where she dictates the rules. The moment you start defending yourself, you've already surrendered the ground. You're no longer standing in your truth, you're fighting to be seen through her distorted lens. And that is a fight you cannot win, because the game is designed to exhaust you, not resolve the issue. Think about how many times you've walked away from a conversation with her feeling more confused than before. You probably asked yourself, how did we even get here? That's because explanations don't dissolve her defenses, they activate them. What you thought would bring peace ends up deepening the conflict. Over time, this constant cycle of explaining and not being heard drains your energy and erodes your confidence. You start questioning your own perspective, wondering if maybe you are the problem. That self-doubt is exactly what she relies on to keep control. The truth is, silence often says more than explanations ever could. Boundaries speak louder than endless reasoning. When you refuse to step into the trap of over-explaining, you reclaim your power. Instead of pouring your energy into convincing her, you conserve it for yourself. Understanding this shift is crucial. Your goal is not to make her see, but to stop losing yourself in the effort. Explaining never works, because with a female narcissist, the issue was never about understanding in the first place. It was always about control. The most dangerous part of dealing with a female narcissist is not always her words or her actions. It's the way she can pull you into the trap of justification. You feel this pull every time she twists the story, accuses you of something you didn't do, or questions your intentions in a way that feels deeply unfair. Your natural response is to defend yourself. You think, if I just explain clearly, if I show her the facts, she'll understand. But this is exactly what she wants. Because the moment you start justifying yourself, you step onto her playing field, and from that point on, she controls the rules.